Okay, today on the podcast is my friend, Johnny Levy, CEO of DataJoe, and he's been a previous guest on the podcast. If you kind of want to hear his origin story, go back. I'll link to whatever. I don't remember what episode number it was, but I'll link to that in the show notes. So go back and listen to that. But Johnny, good to see you, man. Always good. We've already been talking for 15 minutes before we started doing this, so good to see you.
That's how we do it. Good to be with you, Paul.
Yeah, man. Okay, cool. So had you on the podcast today. Like I said, a lot of this podcast showcasing the people of local media and like business models, different businesses and everything. But I realized that the last time we talked, I did maybe like 2 or 3 minutes about DataJoe and then moved on to hear more about your story. But even like, as I alluded to, we were talking before this, I think the first thing I said when we hopped on the call is what exactly does DataJoe do? Can you refresh me on that? So yeah. Help refresh the audience on it too, man. Can you talk a little bit about DataJoe in more depth than we did last time? Yeah,
it's a good story. It's a good story too. I mean, it's a good lead into the kind of there's a story behind it. So we kind of start with culture. We've been through, as opposed to just leading out with like, well, here's the products that we do, which I think is what most people do. We've done enough introspection as an organization to try to kind of understand the soul of our organization. And so if you were to put one word on the soul of our organization, it's partnership. So that's our highest value is partnership, a partnership experience. And that works not just in terms of like how we treat clients, but it's like, well, how we treat our team and, everybody that's affiliated with it. Like partnership is kind of the guiding star, the North Star of the organization. And then you bring it down into our core principles. We've got 4 core principles that we try to stay consistent to, which again, are we being successful as a business or not? It depends on if we're being successful in these 4 attributes of partnership. We would say the first is humility, like ability to take responsibility, own, teachable, not assuming we always know everything. Humility, creativity. So that's a big one for us. Like I am a huge visionary, big idea guy. So
I was gonna say that's the creative as Johnny I know. Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. That's and so, we're not just going to be order takers. We're going to be innovators. So creativity, dependability, which is, defined as doing what we commit to do, even if it means unexpected sacrifice. So dependability is a big one for us. And then the last one is passion. So, and that's how we hire, people who are passionate, people who are going to get excited about the work that we're doing. So those are the 4. And then getting a little more tangible or tactical, our mission is entrepreneurial data partnership. So what that means is entrepreneurial is the creative side, right? So we're going to try things. We're going to do new things. We're going to innovate. Data, I already said, everything that we tend to do centers around ways to leverage data to create revenue. All my products are that, basically, depending regardless of who we're working with. And then partnership, that goes without saying just from the beginning, the experience of partnership is the product. It's a distinctive or a big distinctive in our product is that partnership experience. But it's always around data. And so from there, it gets really, really specific and tactical. We work with city regional magazines. We work with business journals. We work with trades, niche B2B. We work with daily newspapers, and we do different products for each group, but they're going to be, research and data centric. So for city regionals, nominations like top doctors, top lawyers, top dentists, top realtors. For business journals, it's going to be like more book of lists or individual list research. And then we do best workplaces in that space. And then dailies is usually, it can be a mix because they can pull from any of those different bags of tricks. So yeah, man, that's
Cool.
What we've developed as.
Yeah, I want to learn more. So a couple questions. So one is like, I mean, you don't have to get too in the weeds, but you're a data guy. You run the media data collaborative, which we can talk about later if you want.
Yep.
Like, how are you, like, what is this? I don't know how to phrase what I'm trying to ask. How are you sourcing this data? What's it look like? Say I'm a local, a business journal or a local daily. Like, what's it look like on their end if they're working with you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So with the business journals, it's going to tend to be more software as a service. And so it's going to be, we've got a platform, a SaaS platform. The playbook for a book of lists doesn't really vary from market to market. You're developing relationships and you're surveying, if you're going to do a top law firms list, you're surveying the law firms in the market and you're saying, hey, don't miss out because it'll be It'll be bad for you if you're not showing up on this list of the most prestigious law firms. So, but to get on the list, there's an exchange. I need you to tell me, your total revenue for the last year. I need you to tell me your number of employees. I need you to tell me your top executive. And so these surveys tend to be pretty standardized. They're pretty similar market to market, but the key is engagement. So reaching out, having an automated means to get that information into your organization, into your database, so that you can turn that information into products, which is going to be the list that sometimes, maybe the weekly or the monthly list that goes out with the publication, and then end of the year, the compilation of all the lists. That's the book of list model. So we both provide a platform for people to do that themselves. And then we actually do take on the whole project where the client is basically hiring us to be outsourced research for them.
Okay. And then just, like I've said many times in the show, I'm not a journalist. I've never worked in a newspaper or a publication like that. Like, how do you, so you're creating and organizing all this kind of raw data from these surveys from everything you're doing. How is it, and I'm just asking because I'm curious, how is it monetized? Like, you know what I mean? By these publishers or whatever. Walk me through how that you turn into a product for them and how that works.
That's the right question, Paul.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah. Because I don't have a job and I don't have a company if these products don't monetize. Yeah. So there's a couple ways. So for book of lists, for example, it's similar in all cases, right? So book of lists, it's advertising, right? So they're going to publish these weekly lists or these monthly lists, and then there's going to be typically an advertiser that's either facing that sponsor or something like that. And then the book of lists, usually, we've done enough research studies in the past to know that, these products generate anywhere from $30,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars in these different markets. But that's almost all advertising, right? It's just, who's going to advertise next to an accounting firm's list? Well, there might be somebody who's selling a software that account, because who's going to be looking at the list? First and foremost, it's accountants, right? Like accounting firms are going to be looking at the accounting firm's list to see where they ranked on the list, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's people who are interested in the accounting firm's list. And so the advertiser is going to be aware of that and is going to choose where they want to be adjacent based on what sub community is being summoned by the list. So, and it's pretty much this, and there are online versions of it, that you can monetize in some ways, but the lion's share is still at this point print that people are generating from these. And then there's obviously the subscription for the actual product, the actual book of lists in that case. But if you take like a Top Doctors, which is in the city regional world, that's probably the most profitable product that they do of the set. It's going to be Top Doctors. Then I'm highlighting the top 500 doctors in whatever, Boston or Washington, Washington DC, let's say. And I'm highlighting those top doctors. Well, I'm going to go to the medical systems, and I'm going to go to the individual practices, and I'm going to go to the doctors themselves. And so you'll see there's a mix of different advertising that these end up with. It might be a health system that's honoring all 50 of their doctors that made the list on a 2 to 4 page spread. It might be an individual, pediatric practice that's honoring the doctor that they got, or it might be the doctor themselves buying a profile. And so so that's one way. And then there's obviously the digital opportunities, or however you package it, because at this point people are packaging digital in with the print in order to make sure they're giving the most possible value. But that's how it's monetized. And then plaques. Plaques is another part. Plaques and products like mugs and things like that, like those kinds of things that celebrate the win. No matter what, if it's award based, then plaques and celebratory products are a big part of how you cause this thing to get profitable and grow year over year.
Yeah, it's a great thing if I'm a chiropractor to have a nice looking best of chiropractor up behind me on my Zoom call. Really,
Yeah.
I can see it's funny when you first said that. I'm like, what is? I got to ask him what plaques is. I was thinking like PLAX. I'm like, is that some industry term? I don't know. I'm like, oh no, literally plaques. Okay. I was overthinking it.
Yeah.
How old is DataJoe, the company?
Gosh, man, we're getting over 20 years old. So I mean, I've been at the company almost 20 years at this point. And I think it was just a couple years old when I got there. So I got there really, really early, and we were like I walked in, man, and it's like we were in somebody else's office space, and we had like our own little cramped office space with partitions. And I was like, man, what am I even signing up for over here? They hired me as the trainer when I first came on. I was because we had this beautiful software system that people were using for book of list research, but the problem was the complexity. And so a lot of times these clients were adopting it, but they were getting confused about how to use it. They weren't really then able to leverage it for as much time savings, and then that would cause terminations. And so I got hired to create, because I'm a teacher. I actually have a teaching background, bro.
I think I remember that from a while
yeah.
back. Yeah, yeah.
And so they brought me in for my teaching expertise to create basically the whole guidebook for the system, but then to train people. And so they would actually send me out to different cities to train people. In fact, I bet you there's a handful of your listeners that are like, yeah, I remember when Johnny came out.
Probably.
We took him to lunch, and I got to hang out with the team and teach them how to use this old school platform. And so then they hired me for that. I got that all in order, but then that kind of equipped me. The side effect of that was I knew how the system worked, so I could sell it. So that was kind of how my evolution within the company happened. Was I got into sales after that.
Yeah, and kind of the reason I asked, just like the age of it and everything, 20 years old is that's ancient for like a B2B SaaS platform. How's it changed over the years, just like in terms of data collection? Like you said, you do all these surveys and everything. Was it like pounding the phones 20 years ago to get like all these people? And how are you doing that today? And just like, how's the overall organization changed with the crazy technological shifts that have happened over the
Well,
last
we've had
20
to kind
years?
of, yeah, like we live in a world where it's like change or die, basically. And so we've actually had to completely reinvent ourselves multiple times over the years. I mean, at first we really, when I came on with the company, all we had was this one product, the SaaS product, which was, you pay us a monthly fee to use this system to survey, collect information, and then the system automatically generates PDFs for print and automatically generates an online storefront so you can sell the data online. Like that was it. That was all we had. But that's that wasn't a huge pond. I mean, there was only so many players in that space that were producing a book of lists. And so we had to start thinking outside of that. And probably our first biggest shift was into the city regional magazine space, because they also had data needs, I found out, but they're very different, right? A book of lists is very different from like a nomination-based top doctors, where doctors are nominating each other. And it's just different. And so I remember D Magazine, man. I got in touch with D Magazine is probably one of the best the shining example of how to monetize nominations. And so I got in touch with somebody over there, and she was very business minded, but she oversaw the research. And she says, and so I showed her our system. We had built like a little bit of a nomination plugin into our system that kind of worked. And this lady was like, hey, there's nothing out there, and I need something to help me do all these campaigns. And she was like, I think I want to work with you. And I was like, I don't know if I don't want to mess it up. Like, I was really resistant, bro. Like, she was having to chase me down because I was really resistant. And I was like, I just don't know if it's going to work, and I just don't see it. And it's very different than our core. And she just kept on it like a pit bull, man. She just got my arm, which is not how sales is supposed to work. But I never said I was a great sales. I've never been an aggressive salesman. And finally I was like, fine, let's do it. And so we did it. And it really, even just the level that we had developed, significantly changed her workload. It changed her life. It worked, right? And so that showed me there's something here. But the thing was, most of those city regional magazines did not have a dedicated person like DMag had. Like Dallas could afford that.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them didn't have a dedicated researcher. So we're coming from the business journal world, in which every publication has a researcher, because every publication has to have a book of lists, and you have to have a researcher to have the book of lists.
Right.
We enter into this other world where hardly anybody has a dedicated researcher, and they're sourcing their lists from all these different vendors. And so as I started to try to sell in that group, they were like, no, we don't want a platform. Don't give me something I've got to manage. I don't have a person. I don't have personnel to manage it.
Right.
They're like, give me a product though, and you've got my attention. Sell me a list. And so that we had to evolve to become a research firm instead of a SaaS firm. And literally, I exist today only because of that pivot. Like that pivot had to happen.
That's a crazy story, man. That's good stuff.
Wild. I mean, data, bro, is so exciting, right?
I would have glazed over about a year ago, but I've been hanging around you too much since then, and you're totally right.
I know, dude.
I might be off the mark here, but so you serve city regionals, local dailies, business journals, a lot of, I guess you could call them legacy players, which are still robust, great businesses. Do you ever think about like the rise of like new media with like these new entrants, leaner startup, maybe newsletter forward publications, which, you think like hyperlocal news or whatever a lot, but there's other like business focused ones and stuff also. How do you think about that? Like how you can work with those folks, what you can do for them at a scale that works for them, or do you see anything playing out
all the time, bro?
Yeah.
We think about it all the time because you're right. Like in the past, my big limiter was, I'm not doing business with you unless you can afford to pay me at least $4,000 for a product, or I'm not working with you unless you can afford to pay me at least $500 a month, right? For a platform. Like I'm not working with you if you can't do those things. And over time, the perspective has very much changed on that, because then you have the playing field got more and more fragmented. You got more and more players in the playing field, and now it's a game of who can build enough trust to create the engagement. And you don't have to be a large organization to build trust and engagement anymore, right? You could be a one person shop at this point, right? Which we're seeing like with kind of the whole Substack. I mean, certainly with podcast world, but then also like the Substack universe where, some of these people have left, jobs at large media organizations and then taken their own voice with them to start a Substack that they subsist off of now. Some people are on Beehive, doing the newsletter phenomenon thing with the Substack, Beehive, etc. And so, yes, we think about it all the time. And I think this is going to sound a little convoluted, but one of the greatest quotes I ever heard was from a former publisher, a very renowned publisher named Ray Paprocki. So shout out to Ray. Very wise, had a full career. He's retired from active publishing. But I asked him, I said, just private, a conversation I had with him. I said, man, does the aging out of your demographic keep you up at night? Like print, you're a print magazine. Does it keep you up at night like that, you're going to become irrelevant? And he said, Johnny, it doesn't, because my job is to give gifts to the people. He said, that's how I see my job, is to give this gift to the people. If the people don't want the gift in the format that I'm giving it to them, then I have to figure out how to give the gift in a format that they do want, right? So he's like, I don't see myself as a print organization. I see myself as a gift-giving organization. And what do I give? The gift that he's giving is bringing the community together through sharing stories, right? So I don't see myself as a list creation company for news organizations of X size. Right. I see myself as giving the gift that I ultimately give is innovation and revenue, right? I give a great partnership experience. I use what I know. I'm constantly learning. My company just learns, and then we apply to new things. And so, case in point, we're launching an AI study, basically, where we go into a market and we survey players, businesses in the market about how they're using AI. And then we'll use that study to both give insight about that particular business community's interrelationship with AI. That's a great study, right? Great to know. What do people in my community, Colorado Springs, think about AI? How are they using it? How advanced are we? Are we afraid of it? Are we excited about it? How are we using it? How integrated is it in our businesses? What are the specific ways we're using it? What are the specific departments where we're using it? Yes, man, we need to know that. But then also that awards element is like, now who are the top AI implementers in this market, right? And so we get to elevate, and then that has its own revenue model. Whenever you do an award, it has its own tried and true proven revenue model around it that works. So what new products can I create that allows us to put the whole pony show around it, right? Because that show already works. It's just finding the new iterations. So in other words, we are actively trying out new ideas all the time with clients we wouldn't normally have worked with, doing pilot programs, things like that. We just did one with editor and publisher for best media workplaces. Just trying stuff, dude. That's kind of where we're at.
Dude, give me some more of those. Can you talk about any experiments,
dude.
pilots, or anything? I want to hear about them.
Bro, you're so nice to me. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So let's see. Well, so I'd say in the city regional space, this is to give you one example. There's there's 4 products that are pretty normally done. There's top doctors, top lawyers, top dentists, top realtors. Then you got best of also. We don't do best of. There's some great people out there doing best of. So there's like Second Street that does best of. There's another company called Scene Think, which I've got a great relationship with. They do best of. So we don't really mess with those. But we mess with typically professional awards, which run differently. Those just work. And most city regionals do those 4. And if they're not doing those 4, then they need to be doing those 4, because those 4 are going to account for most of the revenue that they can be making, those 4 professions. But we launched many years ago, senior care, senior living, senior care providers section. And it just works. It's grown year over, it just grows, more people do it, and it just works. And that's that's basically us using public data. So it's not even a nomination. We use public data from federal and state sources and then leverage this all together into an algorithm. And then we identify the top performing senior care. And that'll be like assisted living, adult active, independent, 55 plus. That'll be your nursing facilities. That'll be your home health. That'll be your hospice. And so we identify those and we create these lists. And then guess what? They just get to whip up the same machine around that list. Exact same machine that they already know how to do with doctors and lawyers around this new list category. So that's one of them that is I'm going to continue to push, because once you've got your 4th, you got your 4 established, then you need your 5th. Why? Because it's a lead list, bro. I mean, you want to get your sales team focused, man.
Yeah.
Get them a lead list of people that they get to go to those people on that list and give them good news. Hey, you're on the list. No, you don't have to pay to be on the list, but we can help you promote the win so that more people in the community know that you won this award. So that's one of the new one. It's not new, but it's newer, and it's starting to. I believe it's going to gain more traction as kind of their fifth option, and then hotels. We're just ran a beautiful experiment with hotels, and again, same thing. It's not a nomination. It's public data that we get from various sources, crunched all together, and then suddenly you've got these luxurious hotels in your market that you now get to highlight. And an award setting, whip up the same machine. So those are a couple. Yeah, there's more than that, but those are the ones I'm pushing right now.
That's great, man. I love especially like the elder care one. My grandma had to go into memory care some years back, 7-8 years ago. And I remember my mom like looking through, and like it would have been I don't want to sound like a cold-hearted capitalist, but it's a very valuable thing to like piece of data, you know what I mean? To have that information for, and it's a win on all sides from everybody. So that's great stuff.
Yep.
You were telling me before technically it was recording, but we weren't doing the podcast yet, that and tell me if we don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but you just you've been CEO of DataJoe for I don't know how long, but you're now a primary owner of the company too. Got some new energy. I mean, you look pretty tired and worn out from the process when you hopped on, but knowing Johnny, that tells me there's going to be some reinvigorated focus and energy coming into the company. Yeah. How's that feel? And anything you want to talk about that or anything? Don't need details or anything.
Well, it in some ways it just feels right. So it's an evolution of the company. We've had a kind of a complex ownership structure. We had a majority owner who was not involved in the company, so they were outside of, they were in a completely different industry, and so we've acquired, me and two other people internally have acquired those shares. And this is all effective January. So the paperwork's all done, everything's all set, and then there's the activation point of January when it's actually going to be in effect. But I feel very good about it. I mean, my team, I've got a great team. That's one thing I would say. Like, I do not have every single person I have that's on the bus is in the right seat, and most companies cannot say that. I can say that it's been a process to get there, but I have no wasted resource. I have people that are invested, that want to be here, that are good at their jobs, and they're doing the right jobs, right? So we wanted to just work that for as long as we can together, and keep the, if you've got a good basketball team, right, you want to keep them together. You want to see what can we achieve together. And so that is the part that's exciting, is I get to now see what can we achieve together, with the company, with the feeling of it being like, okay, this is the ownership structure. The people who own it reflect the people who are in it. Right. And so yeah, there's excitement there. For me, it's a time to step back into vision. Like that whole season where we were working on the acquisition and stuff, obviously I'm not even looking at the horizon. I'm looking at my hands, right? I'm looking at what's right in front of me, trying to get through it. It was, it was a pretty rigorous process. Anybody who's been through that probably can say it's a hard to get all these parties to agree and then act together and then to try to make sure everybody wins. It's hard, dude. It's really hard. And so I get to dream again. So you're getting dreaming Johnny a little bit, like back trying new stuff, back getting excited about new stuff. My strategy for the last 6 to 8 months was mostly just sell the bread and butter, sell the meat and potatoes. But we're an entrepreneurial data partner, right? Like, innovation's in our soul. Like, I get way more excited listening, watching the market, coming up with new stuff to do. Yes, you got to also just sell your meat and potatoes. Like, yes, but I'm always going to get more excited about creating. I'm a poet. I'm a creative writer, artist. I'm always going to, that's just what gets me pumped. And it's not always the best thing, but what can I say, dude? It also has there have been times when that's saved us. So
you got a good personality type for how you said, if you're not growing in this is an industry, you're dying too. You know what I mean? You got to be forward thinking like that and creative, outside the box and everything. Do you want to hop on here and talk about data? Do you want to talk about the MDC at all? Or
I'd love to, man.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was a secret society or what was going on. So MDC is the Media Data Collaborative. I'm on there also. We're on like a monthly call. You put out some great content around it. Could you just talk just a little bit about what it is, who's in there, what the conversations are going on?
Well, at my heart, so I think you get so I'm in this data universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I work in this data universe. I've been working in this universe for the last 20 years. But really at my soul, if you peel me apart and say, well, what is Johnny as far as the way his design works and his identity and design interact together? What is Johnny? I'm a connector, right? I'm a creative connector. Those two words probably carry the most weight in terms of how I function in the world, whether I'm at McDonald's, whether I'm at a conference for media, whether I'm on a podcast with Paul. Like, I am a connector, and the connection works two ways. I'm going to connect with you, right? Like, we're going to get on a call together and we're going to leave friends, right? That happened with you and me. We got on a call, random call, and now we're friends.
Yeah,
right?
Totally, yeah.
Because that's just, I just love humans, right? Like, I was like, Paul's a worthwhile human being. The man has integrity. I love what he's trying to do in the world, right? Like, there's an excellence to you. Like, yeah, we're going to be friends, bro. And so we're going to connect, me and you, and nobody has a call with me and is like, man, I freaking hated that call with John. Nobody does that, right? Like, we hang out, we have fun, we get enthusiastic, we get pumped. I get pumped about your dreams, you get pumped about my dreams. We're going to have a freaking good time if we get together. But then connection also works externally. Paul, because now I know what you're trying to do in the world, I'm going to connect you with X, Y, and Z people that can help you advance your mission. Because I believe at my core that connection is the multiplier. That's what I believe. I've bank everything on this because I spend so much of my time doing it. So there have been people in my life that if I hadn't met them, massive things in my life would not have happened. I wrote a book. It's one of my proudest accomplishments. I wrote a book called The Superpower Quest. That book does not exist in the world without Alan Briggs. My friend Alan Briggs challenged me, pushed me off the ledge into the water, and was like, Johnny, stop talking about the book and write the book. And I want you to go right now and post on LinkedIn. And I want you to post and I want you to write about the book and when it's going to be done. And I want you to tag everybody that you know and tell them to hold you accountable. And I did that, and it was free. It was scary, and I did it. But why did I do it? Because Alan Briggs. No Alan Briggs, I would not have even known to do that. You feel what I'm saying? Like that book exists because of Alan Briggs, because of a connection. I believe everybody is one connection away from something great, or a couple of connections away from something great that couldn't have happened without the connection being made. So of course, what do I do in media? I start a group, like I'm collecting people. I'm collecting people, right? Oh, there's my homie Paul over here. There's my friend Fogg, who used to be the VP of my company. And, there's Augustin Fu, and there's, like all these people that my buddy David. There's all these people I come into, David LaFontaine. I got to give him a shout out. Actually, he's been incredible.
He's been on the pod.
Incredible.
Another super connector introduction. There's been a few people on the podcast. Yeah.
Incredible brother, man. And so I just start to bring, because again, 20 years in the industry, and I've got a pretty good sense for who's out there really doing something and who has the utmost integrity, right? To where like we're a fit together. And so I was like, I'm just going to put those people together and see what happens. And so I created the Media Data Collaborative. And so it's people that basically have expertise, experience. First of all, it's people with a growth mindset, right? Like there's a certain spirit of generosity and excellence. That's the base level thing that needs to be happening. Right. And then it's like, okay. It's this level of experience in the world of media. And this level of experience in an understanding around data and revenue, right? Which is also nice to have. And then people kind of can come in and out, Nobody comes in and regrets that they came in, because you're going to meet somebody there and you're going to co-refer with each other. You're going to maybe people collaborate, right? We've got Jake and Dave who have collaborated, David LaFontaine and Jacob Fogg, who have collaborated, and they joined forces to create a new product in the SEO, GEO world. And that's birthed. I can't take credit for it, but I can say that I created the environment in which these things started to arise. So yeah, that's what that. And then we talk about data and technology and what's going on in media. And we ask deep existential questions about media, because it's a think tank in order to move the industry forward. And this particular lane, which is data, revenue, technology, innovation, all those things.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's a great group. If anybody wants to check it out, like I was like, do I belong here? Like I don't know much about data, and I always take something away from every call. I don't know how many podcast guests have been on.
Yep.
I may or may not be working with Jake on something also, Mr. Prolific developer over there.
Dude, he's always collaborating, bro.
There's a few people. Got Dr. Fu on. Dave's been on. Carol Wood's coming on the show.
Carol.
Bunch, yeah.
She's a monster, man. Oh, she's so good at what she knows so much, dude. She's got so much experience under her belt. It's crazy. Like she just knows what's up.
And the call's tomorrow, the monthly call's tomorrow. So I'm pumped for that also. Well, what haven't I asked you, man? Do you want to get out there? Have I touched on all the points that we're trying? Or I'm open for more. I got time. Like, yeah.
No, you've been very kind. I don't think there's anything else, man. Like really, the biggest thing is you've given me an opportunity to, I think, verbally process a little bit, because every company's trying to understand, well, what's my identity? What makes me unique? And I think we know what ours is, but it really does, like, you got to double circle that innovation part. Like it's yes, we're gonna build. My COO is different from me. My COO Caleb is very good at creating systems and adhering to systems. Right. And so all my big ideas have to get through the gauntlet of Caleb. And then Caleb takes those ideas and he'll make a system out of them that's repeatable. And so, like, I was going over this with him today in our meeting. He has taken like our top docs. We've taken our best workplaces, these are complex projects. He's taken our top lawyers and he's got them to the place where they just run. They just run. I don't have to mess with them. Nobody's asking me questions about them. You don't want me dabbling with them. I will destroy them because I'll be like, well, let's do blah, 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 blah. And he's like, nope. He creates the system that works and that's repeatable. But he also, some people that are like that are like Caleb, are scared of new ideas because they're like, oh, no. They think about everything that could go wrong, or they think of how much work it's going to create for everybody. And Caleb has that perfect balance, bro, where he's like, we're not going to do anything reckless and we're not going to do anything crazy, but he values my ideas, dude. That's a person like me who's a visionary. That's the best thing that you could have in an integrator. Is somebody who like values your ideas and is like, no, I want to innovate, but I want to innovate responsibly. So we're going to workshop this idea until it takes enough form. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to make it into this beautiful system that's repeatable. And then we're going to have that as an offering forever. And now rinse and repeat. Johnny, what's the next thing we're going to put into the hopper? So we're kind of in that phase where we've got some things that are really worked out, really solid. And we've got some new things that we're dabbling with that we've deemed worthy to bring into the hopper, into Caleb's attention. And so probably the biggest thing is, it's going to be the senior care in the hospitals. But then probably on top of that, in 2026 is going to be the year of plaques and memorabilia. So we've actually forged a great partnership with somebody who's we've worked with them for years on a referral basis, like sending people over to them, and they've set up online stores on our behalf for clients. And at this point now we've gotten deeply entrenched with them to where we have a complete plaque memorabilia program so if anybody's doing any awards based, that's part of the machine. I talked about that machine where you create a good award program, you're going to sell ads around it, but this plaque part is a big part of the machine. And we did a survey and it's the most underutilized, dude. Like it's the most undercapitalized aspect of these products because it is like a lever that you can pull to add, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to a project if you do it right. But it always lacked a marketing component to it. Like basically, how are we getting the word out to the winners and making it really easy for them to buy a plaque? Sure, there's people that are out there that'll just throw up an online store for you, which is cool. That's good. Like there are some good online store providers out there for plaques and memorabilia. But we went a step further and we were like, we got to create the marketing playbook. And so we created and we execute the marketing playbook and the online storefront on behalf of the client. And so 2026 is going to be the year of that. There's going to be a lot more of that happening. We've got people signing up more and more for that. So I would love to be kept in mind in that conversation. Because that's part of the flywheel.
And for somebody looking out there, like if somebody wants to, I mean, you're easy to connect with, Johnny.
It's not hard.
You can always find you on LinkedIn. I'll link to all that stuff and everything. But who are you looking to work with? Not in terms of just like maybe clients, like you can talk about that too, but also just like you said, when I forget what you call it, value is partnerships and everything. Who are you looking for? Like to reach out to talk to work with on all fronts? Just
yeah. Well, so there's a character profile. There's a profile for sure. So it's going to be, we really value partnership, right? We really value responsibility, dependability, generosity. We really value those things. And so we work best with other people that actually value those things in the DNA of their organization, right? Like there's some organizations that are much more just capitalistic, like just give me a vendor and okay, here are the 4 and the cheapest one, that's the one we want. Right. And we're always going to be trying to get them to, every year we're going to try to be paid less and less. You know what I mean? Like
I'd also argue that could be a recipe for not being happy down the line with all that stuff too. If we're going for the bottom dollar. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, no, that's not really a culture fit for us, right? A culture fit is going to be a trust-based relationship. It's going to feel more like a partnership and not just a vendor who you put your order in. And we're going to be looking for ways, what could we be doing? Where are you going this year? And what can we be doing to help get you towards that goal? Like I love having those kind of consultative conversations. Where are you going? What are you trying to accomplish? Okay, you're trying to get 5% revenue growth. Okay, or profit growth, let's say. And how are you doing that? Okay, how can these kinds of products fit into that? How can we make it really easy so that you're not. We did a survey and the biggest thing that publishers said is that they don't want their they're resource constrained. They're feeling resource constrained, but they're also feeling this immense pressure to transform. But then that transformation takes time and research and study, and they don't have time. And so they feel trapped in the cycle of resource constraint. And so I'm never coming and saying, hey, let's add something new to your team.
Right.
I'm saying, let's add very little to your team and have this new thing that generates revenue, that's meaningful, that you're not having to babysit. That's what gets exciting.
Man,
for me.
that's awesome. You hit that so on the head. The resource trapped in the resource constraint. I have similar conversations with folks that I'm talking to about doing what I do. Also, it's a good encapsulation of it. That's great stuff.
It's right there in the atmosphere, man. It's like, yeah, we know we need to change. It's not that we don't want to change, but we're spending so much time on the hamster wheel that's also producing less and less revenue without being transformed, right? But where they're in that it's a feeling of being trapped,
right?
And so vendors like you and me, partners that come alongside, can often add new elements to create the transformation without putting that on the company. And sometimes we got to get creative in our deal structure to make it possible.
Yep. Preaching to the choir, man. Good stuff.
You know what I'm talking about, Paul.
All right, Johnny, where can people find you? What else should I link to? Obviously, your LinkedIn, DataJoe's website. What else? Anything else you want to shout out, promote, or anything?
I'd love for people to check out peopleofmedia.com. So, you and I, we often share guests. We refer guests back and forth to each other. So, if you ever want to double dip, Paul just interviewed Augustin Fu, Dr. Fu, who I also have interviewed on my site. So that's peopleofmedia.com. And then that also is my media data collaborative, media data revenue content you can find on that site as well. And so that's probably the best place to dip your toes in.
Okay. Awesome, man.
LinkedIn too. But LinkedIn, you're going to see all kind of stuff because I'm a lot of people on LinkedIn. I'm DataJoe Johnny. I'm Superpower Quest Johnny. I'm Kingdom Superpowers John. I'm all kinds of things on LinkedIn.
Good stuff, man. Well, this was awesome. There's a lot of good. You're like a clip machine in this one. I'm gonna have a lot of stuff going out for it.
Bro, you're so kind.
Yeah, thanks for joining me again. I'm sure it won't be the last time on the podcast. So, right on, man. Thanks.
Paul, I love what you're doing in the world, man. You have such a spirit of generosity and kindness. You've just been good to me, man. I'm really glad to know you.
Awesome. Thanks, man.